Alright, so here I have a Sony Walkman WM-F12 from 1985. It is a perfectly fully functional Walkman. I first acquired it at a local Goodwill for $3. And the funny thing is that on the front of the Walkman it had a sticker that said $7.99. And on the back of the Walkman it had a sticker that said $2.99. So yeah, I was a smart ass to peel off the sticker and put the $3 sticker on the front of it, and I got it for $3 instead of $8. When I arrived home, uh, it had a bad solder joint on the headphones jack, and the left channel was intermittent. So I resoldered all three of the solder joint connections on the headphones jack, and I could tell it's been sitting for a long time because it has two belts inside there, and the main cab stand belt that went from the motor to the cab stand drive uh, was good. Both the belts are good, but the capstan belt has been sitting for a long time in one stationary position around the shaft of the motor. And when the belt sat for such a long time, it put a crease in the belt, and when I would play tapes, I would have this nice fluttery sound in my music. Not because the belt is bad or anything, but because it had that bend in there. But thank God I had a belt laying around that was actually the correct size belt to go on the capstan drive. Um, so only that belt has been replaced, but the secondary belt that for the fast forward and rewind is still original and it's still nice and good. Now, this Walkman was made in 1985, somewhere in 1985, and there's one minor problem with this Walkman: excessive motor noise in the audio. When you would press play, you can hear the motor whining, along with the faint hint of pink noise in the background that the Walkman has. I mean, any cassette player has that shh sound. It has that, little static sound in the background when you first turn it on. But when you have a motor noise mixed in with it, that's not too good. And especially you can hear it within your music too. So that's why I have a couple capacitors laying around here. I got a couple Rubicons and some Nichicon capacitors. And capacitors generally have a life of about 10 years before the electrolytic paste starts to cake and dry up inside the capacitor. And the capacitor will no longer filter as well or do the specific job it was designed to do as well when it exceeds 10 years. But although the device will still function, your audio will start to decay. Basically, you'll get muddier bass and muddier treble and noise mixed in as well as the motor. So I'm already prepared for the video. I already cracked apart the Walkman and stuck a couple of these capacitors across each capacitor in the audio circuitry, making sure I didn't get the polarity mixed up or anything like that. And long and behold, I came across the culprit that passed the motor noise within the audio, and it was a 6.3 volt 220 microfarad capacitor. And the brand of the capacitor was a Tracon or Tracon or however you pronounce it. It was Tracon. And I have this little Nichicon right here. Hold on, if the damn camera would focus. This is a 16 volt 220 microfarad, and it is actually slightly smaller than the 6.3 volt 220 microfarad capacitor. And you can see right there, it is indeed a Nichicon. And this one is going to go in there, but the fear is that this capacitor right here is a little taller than the original capacitor. And I hope it will fit. So, alright, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the motor noise. I'm going to plug the Walkman up to my laptop and record audio from the Walkman and press play on it and let you hear the motor noise, and you'll hear the difference when I stick the capacitor on there, and you'll hear the motor noise just eventually vanish. And I'll go ahead and desolder the original capacitor and pop this one in. Alright, I now have the capacitor installed, and I'm going to go ahead and see if I can screw down the circuit board and put the Walkman back together, and hopefully it fits and hopefully it works. Right here, as you can see when I bring up the circuit board, there is the capacitor right there in the center. Oops, well, it's caught in the belt. Right. That little guy right there, caught on the belt right there. But anyways, there's the new capacitor. It is much taller than the original. The original was about as tall as these, and what that capacitor might press on is the motor engagement switch right there. It leads right down the capacitor, which is right there. Might lead down to that switch. But I'm going to go ahead and see if I can put this circuit board all the way down, and hopefully the Walkman still works. And I hope that won't cause any trouble of the top of the cap shorting against the contact right there, and might cause motor noise to go directly through that capacitor into my audio or whatever. If not, I could probably put some tape over that. But there's one way to find out. Alright, the Walkman is now fully assembled with the new capacitor. I mean, if I had enough money, I would probably buy every electrolytic capacitor needed for this Walkman and replace it, and that would probably fix up anything that needs to be fixing. But right now it sounds fine. I mean, the bass is fine, treble is fine, pretty much the overall frequency response is fine, but the filtering is the main part that popped my fuse, and that needed to be fixed. But the capacitor fits. It sort of touches the switch, but it doesn't touch the metal part. It more or less touches the plastic part. But it's installed. I pressed play and I listened to it in my headphones, and as soon as you press play, you get this brief second of motor noise, but it clears up and it goes away. And all of a sudden it's just pure silence, with a little exception of pink noise in the background, which that's normal. So I think that's a normal characteristic of the Walkman. When you first power it up, you get that brief second of motor noise, and then it clicks away. That's pretty much what it does. It doesn't fade away. It just instantly goes away after a second. But, alright, that's that.